copper in the aluminum is less than 1%. But if you want percentage of copper at around 548 degrees Celsius, it dissolves 5.65 of copper. Draw the diagram. So around 33% of they are not interested in study of this eutectic. We'll study how aluminum copper alloy is important as far as applications are steps in precipitation hardening. In the question paper, syllabus will be asked in this. In the question paper, the question will be asked, which is given in the syllabus. Only steps in the precipitation hardening are detailed precipitation hardening are not studied. It is mentioned in our syllabus because in the old syllabus there was complete one chapter of precipitation hardening alloys, and that chapter itself was 10 to 15 marks. Here, this alloy applications, and then we are going to see what are the steps in precipitation hardening. Last time I have just explained in short. Today I am going to explain you in detail. So this is ordinate abscissa. This is alpha plus theta. This is alpha. Okay. This is alpha plus liquid. Because this is eutectic point. This is 548 degrees Celsius. This melting point of aluminum is 660 degrees Celsius is melting point of aluminum. Okay. Then here 5.65, here 33, here 20, here 10. We'll wait for 2 minutes till you draw the diagram. So friends, melting point of aluminum, this is weight percentage of copper. The solubility of copper in aluminum is 5.65% at 548 degrees Celsius. Solubility of solute continuously go on decreasing with decrease in temperature. So the requirement for precipitation, two main requirements of precipitation hardening. First is solubility of solute must decrease with decrease in the precipitate which form is coherent precipitate. Is the diagram is over? Somebody reply?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is the diagram is over? Make the diagram. Reply from your side is required, friends. Don't put in chat box. I told you please unmute and tell the diagram is over. May I erase?
Over, sir, over.
Okay, thank you. So next one is right the statement aluminum copper system exhibits precipitation hardening. PRECIPITATION in bracket edge hardening EING AGEING aging. It's also called as next line. Steps in precipitation hardening. Steps in precipitation hardening. Step number 1. Step number 1 is solutionizing. Step number is quenching. Step number 3 is aging. So what is meaning of solutionizing? So this question is asked for 3 or maximum 4 marks. In the steps in precipitation hardening of aluminum copper system. So your step number 1 will be aluminum copper alloy precipitation hardening because of following reasons. First statement, solubility of copper decreasing with decreasing temperature. And step number 2 is the precipitate which form is coherent. The precipitate which form is coherent. What is precipitate? So group of atoms. So whenever atoms of copper, that is Cu3Al actually, so these are at angstrom unit level. Angstrom unit, 1 angstrom unit means 10 raised to minus 8 meters. It is very small, which you can't see by naked eyes. So at angstrom unit level, the precipitate forms, means atoms will gather together and these atoms will make the groups. This group of atom is called as coherent precipitate. Whenever you will try to deform any of the material, in last lecture I have given the example. So there are layer of the atomic layers. So one layer of the atoms, another layer of the atom, third layer, and so on, infinity. Whenever you are going to deform any of the material, then the atomic layer will slide. When atomic layer will slide over each other, automatically length of the component increases and thickness decreases. Process of sliding of atomic layers is going on. In this case, the atomic layers, when they are moving, there should not be any obstacle for the motion. If you will find a difficulty in movement of the atomic layers, you may feel that you require more for deformation. When you require more efforts for deformation, we can say that part is hard. That's why these coherent precipitate, if it is not present, then you can easily deform the component. When you can easily deform, you will find more and more thin sheet from the thick sheet. But if age hardening process for this particular alloy or any alloy which exhibits precipitation hardening, it may be aluminum, copper, it may be copper beryllium, it may be some few steels, out precipitation hardening process, then at atomic level, these group of the atoms of precipitate will form. There will be obstacle for motion of the dislocation, that is these atomic layers, and you require more efforts to deform. When you require more efforts to deform, you can say that part becomes hard. So this is called as precipitation hardening. Now, steps in precipitation hardening. First is solutionizing. Solutionizing means what? It is heating. So you have seen the diagram here. This is alpha plus L. Okay. So here this is alpha, single phase alpha. Going to heat around this temperature is 548 degrees Celsius. This is 5.65. I will draw larger figure here. This for 65. Okay, and we have taken 4.5% of copper. So alloys with Al 4.5% copper. Al at 4.5% copper means somewhat here. 4.5% copper. Which phase is present? At room temperature, which phase is present? Alpha plus theta. So at room temperature, alpha plus theta phase is present. Now, you are going to hit this alloy above this. So we draw the straight line. This is pure alpha. Okay. So I am going to hit this 4.5% copper. This is solidus line. So as you go on hitting, if you cross this line, this theta phase will vanish and you will get pure alpha. So you are somewhere here. You have heated the alloy. So solutionizing means heating of the alloy to the higher temperature so as to obtain alpha phase. Write down the statement. Solutionizing. It consists of heating of alloy at around at around 500 degrees Celsius and soaking there to obtain homogeneous alpha. Next line, step number 2. Cooling of the alloy with very fast cooling rate. It consists of cooling of alloy with very fast cooling rate so as to obtain supersaturated alpha. Third, aging. It consists of heating supersaturated alpha at 150 to 200 degrees Celsius and then cooling slowly. In bracket, artificial aging. Artificial aging. AGEING. Now pay attention. So there are two types of aging. One is natural aging, another is artificial aging. So natural aging means what? First, solutionizing, second, quenching, and third step, aging means you are going to put that sample in open to atmosphere for a long time. Suppose first day. So on day one, I have carried out quenching, and I have kept this specimen on the table, and I will measure the hardness value. So it will be observed as suppose 10 RC. RC is unit of hardness, Rockwell hardness C scale. So once it will be 10 RC for day one, after 2 days, I will measure the hardness. It will be 15 RC. After 1 week, I will measure the hardness. It will be 20 RC. After 2 weeks, it will be 25 RC. After 2 months, it may be 35 RC. After 6 months, it may be 50 RC. So what is this? As time increases, hardness go on increasing. So you'll ask me why this is happening. So this is because of as time increases, the strength of precipitate increases. So initially, only suppose take example, only 4 or 5 atoms form the group. After 1 week, that after 6 months, it becomes 4,000 atoms. So in this way, as day increases, number of days increases, the strength of precipitate go on increasing, means their grouping go on increasing. So more and more groups of the precipitates are formed, means obstacle for motion of these atomic layers. So more and more pressure required or efforts required for deforming. Means we can say that as number of days are increasing, the strength and hardness of that particular specimen increases. But I don't want after 6 months. I want it today only. So when you want the same effect of the hardness 50 RC, which will be happening after 6 months, I want it today. That will be achieved by artificial aging. Artificial aging consists of heating this sample once again to the little higher temperature. What exactly is happening? Let us see in the microstructure. So you draw the microstructure along with me. This is alpha. Draw this. This structure is at this position. See the diagram. I have kept this tip of the pen. You just observe. So at this point, a little larger size I will draw. Point number 1. This is point number 1. So I have written point number 1, and here also I have written point number 1. So your microstructure is at this position. This is alpha. Now, this is not stable. This alpha is not stable below this solidus line, because below this solidus line, alpha plus theta phase is present below solidus line. But if you quench it very fast, alpha remains alpha. So some time is required for that alpha, so that theta phase will separate. Immediately you are taking the specimen and dipping into water. When you are taking the specimen and dipping into water, this alpha remains alpha for some time. Point number 2. I have shown point number 2. Supersaturated alpha, if it is not readable, I am telling supersaturated alpha. What is meaning of supersaturated? Can anybody tell me what is meaning of supersaturated? Because I have drawn same figure, no change in figure, only name I have changed. Here I have written alpha and here I have written supersaturated alpha. So I will give one non-technical example. So I hope, am I audible? Somebody reply?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I will give one non-technical example to you. Suppose capacity of individual to eat, let us take any fruit, suppose banana. So my capacity is not to eat more than 3-4 bananas. I will eat 12 bananas. 12 केळं मी खाल्ली एका वेळी. So I have eaten 12 bananas and now I will go in the phase number 2, that is supersaturated. म्हणजे काय होईल? त्या फेज मध्ये मी एक ठराविक वेळ राहू शकेन. I will be in that phase only for particular time, but I can't remain in that phase for long time. Then what I will start? I will start vomiting. Am I correct? म्हणजे मला उलटी होईल. Means what? I can't digest more than 3-4 bananas, but I have eaten 12 bananas. The capacity of aluminum to digest copper at higher temperature, it is okay, 5.65%. But at lower temperature, capacity of aluminum is less than 1%. I repeat statement, aluminum ची कॉपर 1% कमी आहे. So aluminum can digest or dissolve only less than 1% copper at room temperature. But your percentage of copper is 4.5. At higher temperature it dissolves, but at lower temperature it will not dissolve. But immediately you have not given time for separation. तुम्ही separate करायला वेळच दिला नाही त्याला. Immediately you have quenched. That's why both microstructures are same. And meaning of supersaturated is for particular time. एका ठराविक वेळेसाठीच फक्त. So as aluminum can't digest this or more copper, it will start vomiting and it will start separating phase theta during aging process. So it will, for day 1, it will dissolve only, suppose 10, separate only 10 atoms. After 10 days, it separates 1000 atoms. After 100 days, it separates 50,000 atoms. After 6 months or 3 months, it separates 1 lakh atoms. So as it goes on separating copper atom with number of days, it starts forming precipitate. म्हणजे जसे जसे दिवस वाढतील तसे copper लागतात and that separated copper atoms will form coherent precipitate. But we are not ready to wait up to 3 months or 4 months. We want that separation earlier. Then the same supersaturated aluminum copper sample is once again heated around 150 to 200 degrees Celsius. And this is called as artificial aging. And see the now third microstructure. Draw along with me. this is earlier alpha as it is, and whatever dotted part I have shown, that is theta. That's why we are writing alpha plus theta here. See here, we are writing alpha plus theta. So this is called as precipitate, and this precipitate separates immediately after heating the sample of aluminum copper at 150 to 200 degrees Celsius. So this is step number 3. So I repeat, step number 1, solutionizing. Step number 2, quenching. And step number 3, aging. You can say artificial aging. So these are the steps in precipitation hardening of aluminum copper alloy. Draw the figure. Over.
Over, sir.
So I hope everybody have drawn this. 1, 2, 3. Now I erase it. Next one is applications of aluminum alloys. So aluminum alloy we have studied with aluminum silicon, aluminum copper, magnesium is also one of the important element in aluminum. Togetherly we will see all the applications. Now remember, there are two market names. There are two market names. So first is Cellumin, ALSI. ACLI, write down. Applications of aluminum copper. Cellumin, it is ALSI. Second, duralumin. Second is duralumin. It is AlCu. Now, the best applications of aluminum alloys are in the aeroplane, its parts, and maybe similar space shuttles and other components. Aluminum is light in weight. Aluminum is strong deoxidizer. So, it is helpful for making such components where the requirement of lightweight is there. Aluminum using alloying element in the steel, that role of aluminum is different because there it was alloying element. Here aluminum is base. So aluminum added with number of elements are used for making the number of components, and the one application I told is at the aeroplane parts, and second Y alloy or piston alloy. So all aluminum alloys are listed in the design book as a series called as LM series. What is LM? LM stands for light metal. So LM1, LM2, LM3, LM24, LM13, LM14, all these are the codes available in the book. So you, as as a technocrat, you are knowing the LM is the series used for aluminum. So some market names are famous. That's why once somebody will ask you ki LM13 something, the people can understand. So LM13, LM14, these two alloys are mainly used as a piston alloys. Old days, the pistons were made up of this cast iron. You might have seen the Hollywood movie Titanic. So it was a big ship, and in that ship, some shooting was shown also for the bottom part and operating part of the ship, and where the piston size was almost the diameter of piston may be almost equal to half of the room size. So that much big size of the pistons were used for operating that ship. So such large size pistons, cylinders, etc., these are made up of cast iron. And in many of the diesel engines, parts of this cylinder block and pistons are made up of cast iron. But nowadays you are observing, you are using the bikes. So in the bikes, whatever cylinder and piston arrangement is there, all these are made up of aluminum alloys. You can check your bike. So from outside, you are observing the engine where some pins are provided. Inside that pins are over the surface of cylinder, and that complete body is made up of aluminum alloy. At the same time, the piston inside also made up of aluminum alloy. Because more and more lightweight is required for increasing the fuel efficiency. So these are important alloys. I will dictate some of the series to you, don't worry. One more important aluminum alloy is hindaminium. Write down. Hindaminium. It is aluminum, it's a base, 5% is a copper, 1.5% is a nickel, and small amount of magnesium, titanium, antimony, zinc. All these elements are added to aluminum and creep resistance properties are increased. Now, what is creep? There is a separate chapter in testing of materials in section 2. So creep, fatigue, tension, all the concepts are clear in that chapter. But time being, you remember, creep means high temperature. So if I say any of the element have high creep resistance, means it can withstand its strength at higher temperature. Hindaminium is the alloy where you are going to use the parts made up of it, which are subjected to higher temperature. Many times you are heating pans in the domestic applications. That tawa astat na. In Marathi you can say the tawa. In English you can say pan. Heating pans and similar applications are also made up of aluminum alloy. So all these are the important aluminum alloys. So before I dictate 3-4 lines about this LM, I am going to explain you. Hello, Mr. Saurabh Nikam. Why are you disturbing? Don't share your screen. So I want to explain the important difference. Just pay attention here, what I am writing, and try to understand the concept. This is aluminum copper. And this is copper aluminum. So alloy number 1 and alloy number 2. Even elements are same. Alloys are different, properties are different. Can anybody tell me what is name of alloy number 2? Alloy number 1 already I told, duralumin. Alloy number 1 is duralumin. Who will tell me the name of alloy number 2? Please reply. You have forgotten the things?
Aluminum bronze.
Correct. Bronze and brass. These are the alloys of copper. So copper is the base. Then all are either brass or bronze. only zinc is added, it is brass. And other than zinc, if you write any element in front of copper, that becomes bronze. So aluminum, bronze. Here base is copper and here base is aluminum. This is an interview question as well as it is oral question as well as it is MCQ question. Three types are there. Three types of questions are there only on this single concept. Either it may be asked in the MCQ. Following is the base element in duralumin. So it may be given copper, aluminum, aluminum, copper, then aluminum, silicon, whatever may be given. So you must know duralumin means base is aluminum. Aluminum bronze means base is copper. Even the word copper is not there. Aluminum bronze means base is copper. That's why it may be asked in the MCQ or oral or interview. So please make star to this question right somewhere at the corner. Okay. Now next line, write down applications of aluminum alloys. In short, I will dictate. First, hindaluminium. Dash 5% copper. Here only I will write 5% copper, 1.5% nickel, small amount of magnesium, Mg, titanium, Ti, antimony, Sb, and zinc. Balance aluminum. This alloy is having good creep resistance properties. Next line. Second, cellumin. SELLUMIN. In bracket, LM6. LM-6. In this way. LM6 dash 12% silicon and balance aluminum. It has excellent fluidity. It has excellent fluidity and used for motor housings, comma, pump parts. Next line, piston alloy. Next application, piston alloy. In bracket, Y alloy. Why it is called as Y? Can you imagine? Why it is called as Y alloy? This piston, this crankshaft, this engine, because of this shape is given similar to Y. That's why it is called as Y alloy. I hope you are understanding. Piston alloy. Underline dash. This alloy is mainly used for making the pistons. Next line. First, small Roman one. LM13. Dash 12% silicon 2.5% nickel, 0.9% copper, 1.2% magnesium Mg, and balance aluminium. Full stop. It is having very low coefficient of thermal expansion because with piston you are using at higher temperature, because of explosion the temperature increases and there may be chances of changing the dimension of piston. So if dimension of piston will change, then there will be problem with the blocking and function will not be smooth. So excellent coefficient of thermal expansion, this low coefficient of thermal expansion is required and it should withstand the high temperature. So this alloy is having low coefficient of thermal expansion. Write down that statement. This alloy is having very low coefficient of thermal expansion, comma, very low coefficient of thermal expansion, comma, good bearing properties, and withstand higher temperature. Used for making the pistons. Roman 2, LM 14, 1-4. %4 copper, comma 2% nickel, comma 1.5% magnesium, and balance aluminium. Next line. It has good strength at higher temperature. It has good strength at higher temperature along with low coefficient of thermal expansion. It is used in making pistons, cylinder heads of diesel and petrol engine. So friends, this is all about the applications of aluminum alloys. So now the contents of these bits are over. I will ask some general points to you. So first question, somebody unmute. Well, I will take the names. Bankar is there? Adesh Bankar? Adesh Bankar? Karuna Sarvade is there? Karuna Sarvade.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you tell me whether complete screen is visible to you. Whether whatever I have written is visible to you.
Yes, sir.
So you can read the things and you can write in notebook. Please reply. Karuna.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then next, Samruddhi.
Yes, sir.
Whether everything is visible to you?
Yes, sir.
So whether you will like to have lecture in the same way as like classroom?
Hello, sir. In between, the screen was disappearing.
When?
In between the lectures, sir, sometimes.
No, but when there was PPT, at time also it may be disappearing. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir. No problem.
So this will be a direct impact so that you can see me. I can draw anything on the blackboard. And earlier classes also some these microstructures, then iron carbide Coulomb diagram. All I supposed to explain you the way of drawing. So I have seen today's Gaikwad sir's class. I have visited his lab. So he prepared a similar setup like me. And then that's why I have entered in his room and I have whether we can read on the blackboard. So that's why I was sessions. That's why just I am trying here on the whiteboard. So hereafter we will continue lectures in the same fashion. Okay. Study material I will upload on the whatever drives are given. Only non-ferrous alloys is remaining. All the handwritten notes are there. That same thing which I taught here, it is available in that notes that I will upload today or maybe maximum tomorrow. Okay. Is this okay? Any other student can reflect?
Yes, sir. It is better, sir.
Yes, sir. No problem.
It is better, na?
Yes, sir.
No problem. Other students, 3-4 students.
Yes, sir.
It is better, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, Gaikwad, Gaikwad sir might have collected your attendance. I will take your attendance from him. Only today, for making the experiment, I have shifted your break. From tomorrow, there is no problem. Or if you want less break, you can tell your CC key instead of 4, it may be 3:45. That is your choice. Okay. So this is all about end of aluminum alloys. Tomorrow we are going to start lead, tin, antimony alloy. That is called as BAPIT. Okay. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much.